Netherlands survived against Australia. They won 3-2. Chile have effectively kicked Spain out of the World Cup with a resounding 2-0 win. 10-man Cameroon are also on their way home after the group stage being demolished 4-0 by Croatia. The Netherlands beat Australia 3-2 in a sensational Group B match. Ian Robben opened the scoring for the Dutch when he ran from the halfway line before tucking the ball beyond Matt Ryan for his third goal of the tournament. Australian Tim Cahill replied just 13 seconds later by crashing a fantastic 20-metre volley into the roof of the net. Australia took a shock 2-1 lead with a 54th minute Mal Jedinak penalty. It took goals from Robin van Persie and substitute Memphis Depay for the Dutch to secure the second win of the tournament. And Chile overwhelmed an out-of-sorts Spain 2-0 to all but secure their place in the World Cup second round and eliminate the holders on a memorable night at the Maracanã Stadium. Chile had never beaten Spain in their previous 10 meetings, but always looked the more enterprising. They took the lead with a brilliantly worked Eduardo Vargas goal after 20 minutes and doubled their lead just before half-time when Charles Aranguiz banged in the rebound from a meek punch by keeper Iker Casillas. Spain have become the third holders in the last 4 tournaments to go out to the group stage, following France in 2002 and Italy in 2010. They've also set another record that have been the first World Cup champions to be eliminated after only 2 games. Now, Croatia had strolled to a comfortable 4-0 victory over Cameroon, helped by a needless first-half red card for Alex Song as defeat condemned the West Africans to an early exit. Cameroon, who are playing without injured captain and striker Samuel Eto'o, have won only 1 game in the last 5 World Cups. In the streets of the Amazonian capital Manaus, Croatians waved their flag and sang the national anthem to celebrate their team's resounding victory. Cameroon supporters, on the other hand, said they're very disappointed and expect the players, the staff and authorities to take stock of the situation. Now, we're going to be discussing this and wrapping this up with Mark because we both watched all 3 matches. It's been quite a World Cup for all of us. Nando, Mark, good morning and thank you for joining us again.
My pleasure, Kendall. Thanks.
Mark, tell us, the World Cup continues to bring surprises, continues to bring in the goals. It's actually been quite fascinating watching this World Cup.
Definitely. I've been watching the World Cup since 1990. I've watched every edition, but for me, this is probably the most exciting World Cup I've experienced.
Right now, in terms of that, I mean, I was rubbishing Australia's chances before they played. They gave the Netherlands a bit of a scare.
We all kind of figured they'd be the whipping boys of Group B, and I think a lot of our thoughts were based on their game against our very own national team against Bafana, where they drew 1-1. And so I think we made a lot of assumptions that we probably shouldn't have. But they've really come good in this tournament. I mean, they've shown that they can give as good as they get. I believe
Bafana drew 1-1 with New Zealand the week after. And I think, did they not beat them? I think they beat them. We'll check on that. 1-0. Was it on a 1-0?
No, they drew both games. I'm pretty sure they
thank
drew
you very much. Right. Well, you know what? We'll double check and then we'll let our viewers know exactly what went down on that one. How's that? Right now, look, after such an emphatic performance against the now outgoing champions, why was this game not a walk in the park for the Netherlands?
I think for me, my worry with the Netherlands was that they prepared so much for the first game. I think all their preparation coming into this tournament, because obviously the game against Spain was a major game for them. Obviously there was, the revenge factor. But I think all their build-up and their preparation was based solely on that game. And so every team is different, and they came into the game playing the same formation that they played against Spain. And I think that actually cost them because they lost the midfield battle initially in the first half yesterday. And I think the injury to Indy, the centre-back, was actually a blessing in disguise for them, if I can say that, because once they had changed and brought in another midfielder and went back to like a 4-4-2 formation, that's when they came into the game and started looking a lot more solid. So I think the fact that they planned so much for Spain, they didn't pay enough attention to a team like Australia, I would say, and that cost them dearly because Australia came out all guns blazing. They had nothing to lose. They lost their opening game. So this was do or die for Australia, and they played exactly showing that mentality, and they nearly came through in the end.
Now, let's take a little bit of a break from the field and go to some off-field politics. Right now, the World Cup is under scrutiny. The awarding of Russia and Qatar, the next couple of World Cups, 2018 and 2022. And if the investigation comes out and forces FIFA to do a revote, Australia are going to be putting their vote back into the hat, their bid back into the hat, so to speak, to see if they can actually get the World Cup next time round. And this was a good statement by Tim Cahill and co.
Definitely, Australia are a sporting nation. We can see that across the board, the various sporting codes, they compete really well, whether it's rugby, cricket, The hockey teams are doing really well at the Hockey World Cup. Their netball teams, I mean, they're a sporting nation in general. So obviously hosting the World Cup for them would be a major achievement. And I think they've got the infrastructure and they've got the know-how. They've hosted the Rugby World Cup. I mean, obviously the Soccer World Cup is on a much larger scale, and the magnitude of it is incomparable. But they are a sporting nation, and I think they would do well and would be able to host an event of such magnitude.
Mm-hmm. Now, talking about the Netherlands themselves, I mean, Robin van Persie, Blind, Iron Robin, they're doing a great job of shoring up the Netherlands' hopes for even a World Cup win.
Definitely. The Netherlands are perennial underachievers because they've always been there and thereabouts. They've gotten to the final, I think, 3 times, but never won it. They've gotten to the semi-final a good number of times. So they've always been there and thereabouts. And this is probably going to be their best chance. They're looking really solid. And what I like about yesterday's performance, they didn't play well, but they managed to grind out the results. And as we've said before, that's what champions are made of. If you can play badly and still grind out the result, that bodes well, because when they're on song, we saw what happens in the game against Spain. So that's really good for them, the fact that they were able to get the result, and now they've already secured their place in the second round.
Now, having said that, I'm hoping that we've managed to grab hold of some tweets of some of our viewers in reaction to this particular Netherlands-Australia match. And if we have got them, we'll be bringing them up for you. But in the meantime, we're going to start talking about how Spain has now been kicked out of the World Cup. It's a second consecutive defending champion that's actually bowing out of the group stage. That's quite hectic.
It is. I don't know if it means anything in the greater scheme of things, but the fact that Spain weren't able to, just finish off or carry on what they've started in terms of over the last couple of years, the Euro 2008, World Cup 2010, and then Euro 2012. It seems like it's an end of an era for the Spanish, and so hopefully. They're going to bring in some new blood and they're going to try and change the system because they've struggled a bit.
I'm going to cut in there, Mark. We've got up on screen. We've got the standings for Group B, which would be the Netherlands-Australia match, Chile-Spain match. As you can see, as everybody can see right now, we're looking on Netherlands are top in the group. They played 2-1-2, 6 points. Chile played 2-1-2, 6 points. Spain played 2-1-0, 0 points.
And the remarkable thing here is the goals against. They actually bottom of the group based on goal average because they've conceded 7 and only scored 1. And Netherlands obviously top of the group based on goal average as well. Obviously, what this means for this group is that Australia and Spain, they play the last game, and that's now a dead rubber. That game is inconsequential because both these teams are going home and they're pretty much playing for pride. So I'm sure we're going to see all the fringe players getting a run just so they can have a run at the World Cup. The only important game of importance now is the Netherlands-Chile game. Netherlands and Chile will be playing for top place in the group, and being top in this group would probably mean avoiding whoever's top in Group A, which most likely now is going to be Brazil. So obviously they would want to avoid Brazil and obviously play against whoever comes second, which I believe will be between Mexico and Croatia. So that's basically what's going to happen in this group.
Incidentally, Spain going out and making the next match a dead rubber, going out now. It's the first time in the history of the World Cup ever that the defending, but now former, because they're going home, the defending champions go out after only 2 matches. That's
a record I'm sure they wouldn't have wanted to have, especially after the run they've had over the last 8 years or so. This is the golden generation of Spain that is now dying out, and they are going to have to breed new blood. But there are players waiting in the wings, the likes of Isco. I mean, we've seen how good he is for Real Madrid. And then, you have Alcantara as well, who plays at Thiago Alcantara, who plays at Bayern Munich. So there are youngsters that are coming through. And so we are going to see a fresh, new-looking Spain in the years going forward, I do believe.
All right, now I know our director is going to tell us how much more time we've got left, but one of the teams, before we go into the match, that we really would want to forget, let's talk about Chile. They can't be taken lightly, can they? They came out firing, they were lightning quick, they had, basically, they throttled Spain.
Coming into the World Cup, I was saying that because of based on their warm-up games, they had really impressed me. They played against Egypt, even in the warm-up, they went down 2-0, but they managed to grind out the result and come to a 3-2. So that shows that they've got the character to go a long way in this competition. And the fact that they've already booked their place in the second round speaks volumes for them. And obviously the conditions, they know the conditions really well because they are from South America as well. So that all plays in their favor. And I definitely think Chile will be a team to watch.
Now, great stuff. Now, the match that I really don't want to be talking about, but we have to because it did happen. And as unfortunate and as sad as it is for African fans throughout, Cameroon are also playing a dead rubber in the next match. They should have packed lightly because they're not going to be going into the group stage. They lost 4-0 against Croatia.
Yeah, for them it is a dead rubber. They play Brazil, but for Brazil the game is obviously still of importance because they need to win in order to secure, because Brazil are not guaranteed a place as yet. But yeah, for Cameroon, their World Cup is pretty much over, and the fashion in which they went out is, it's really disappointing. I think obviously the red card, Alex Song getting the red card in the manner that it did really cost the nation as well. Cameroon would have wanted to put up a much better showing, but unfortunately, that's the end of the road for them. Looking at the group now, I mean, obviously Brazil, Mexico top the group, and they're in the best position. Croatia have done themselves a favor by getting the result against Cameroon, and obviously they've also done themselves a favor in the fact that they've scored 4 goals. That counts in their favor. Although this group goal difference is not going to count because Mexico and Croatia are playing a game of importance where it's a winner-take-all. Croatia are going to have to beat Mexico to go through. Mexico only need a draw from that game. So a draw for Mexico in their last game, again, is good enough for them. Brazil obviously play Cameroon. Cameroon don't have anything to play for. So more than likely, Brazil will have the easier game and will probably go through top of the group.
Yeah, just to remind our viewers, these particular matches that Mark's talking about right now, these are coming up on the 23rd of June, where we have Brazil basically looking to rob points of Cameroon, and Mexico and Croatia playing that winner-takes-all that you just spoke about. Now, with that said, should Mexico not do well against Croatia? Should they draw? What happens?
Mexico, a draw is enough for them. Mexico don't need to go into that game looking to win. Croatia have to win the game because Croatia only have 3 points. Mexico on 4 points. A draw takes Mexico to 5 and Croatia to 4. So for Mexico, they'll come in with, knowing that they can hold the line, that they don't have to go all-out attack. For Croatia, it's all or nothing. They have to come out and win this game.
Now, with that said, look, a lot of Cameroonian fans were calling the team traitors and greedy traitors, rather, before they left for the World Cup. They left a day later than normal. Chartered plane was waiting for them. They were busy debating and arguing and threatening to strike over pay bonuses for the World Cup. And now this. What does this say?
Cameroon left for the World Cup under a cloud, and obviously their performance now at the World Cup doesn't aid their cause at all because they haven't put up a good showing. In their opening game against Mexico, they were less than convincing, and yesterday was abysmal, to say the least. And what makes it worse is even when you see the 2 Cameroonian players who nearly got into a fist fight, it's a bad image that was reflected, and I hope in the future they can rectify these kind of things, but it's a problem that happens all too often on the African continent. The funny thing is that Cameroon didn't qualify for the World Cup 2 days before the World Cup. They qualified last year already, so those financial and monetary issues should have been sorted out a long time ago.
No. That's sorry to cut your word, Mark. The thing is, I think what you're saying is actually just spot on. Because also on the table right now is African football associations trying to get more teams into the World Cup, from 5 to an 8 or a 10 maybe. This doesn't work.
Exactly. This doesn't aid our argument because on the continent we have over 50 nations all trying to qualify, and we only have 5 spots at the World Cup. So we need to get more spots for Africa. But performances like this from Cameroon doesn't aid our argument. So let's hope the other African nations will do better, and then we can put in a claim for more African teams to be able to qualify for the World Cup.
No, fantastic. Mark, thank you very much. We'll be back in the next hour where we're going to be previewing what's happening tonight. These all or nothing games are actually quite interesting, on edge of seat stuff.
Definitely. And Ivory Coast are up tonight, so definitely one to look forward to.
Oh, yes. All right, we're going to have a take a look at the African weather forecast after Mark and I did our thing. And thank you for joining us. We'll be back with more later.